What are cognitive distortions? The next time you feel stressed or worried, take a moment to notice what you are thinking. It is highly likely that you'll find that your mind is full of negative thoughts. There's a very strong correlation between what we think and what we feel. When we are feeling challenged or unhappy, our thoughts tend to be quite dramatic and absolute, along the lines of, I'm useless, I can't do anything right, nobody likes me. These types of thoughts are called cognitive distortions in psychology, a term that means that the way you are thinking about something doesn't necessarily match up with the reality of what's going on. It can help when trying to recognize your own cognitive distortions, if you are aware of some of the most common ones. Here are 10 of the most common thought distortions you might have experienced. Mental filtering is when we focus exclusively on the most negative and upsetting feature of a situation, filtering out all the more positive aspects. For example, you undertake a presentation at work, which is complimented and praised by 95% of your team, but you only focus on the 5% of feedback that you could have done better. This leaves you convinced that you didn't do well enough, and not only do you not recognize and enjoy the praise being offered, but you decide not to participate in any future events. All or nothing thinking. All or nothing thinking is when we see things purely in black and white. These types of thoughts are characterized by terms such as every, always, or never. Everything is seen as either good or bad, or a success or failure. It is generally the negative perspective that is endorsed, discounting all the shades of grey that lie between the two focused choices. For example, you get 80% on a test, and you feel like a failure because you didn't get that perfect score. Overgeneralization. Thinking in an overgeneralizing way means we will often see a single unpleasant incident or event as evidence of everything being awful and negative, and a sign that now everything will just go wrong. For example, you fail to get a job that you're interviewed for, and you decide you're never going to get a job. Or you might go on one unsuccessful date and decide you're never going to find a partner. Shoulds and oughts. Individuals thinking in shoulds, oughts and must have an ironclad view of how others should and ought to be. These rigid views or rules can generate feelings of anger, frustration, resentment, disappointment, and guilt if not followed. For example, you don't like playing tennis, but you take lessons because you feel you should. And you shouldn't make so many mistakes on the court, and your coach ought to be stricter on you. You also feel that you must please him by training harder. Emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is when we assume our feelings reflect fact, regardless of the evidence. The idea is, I feel, therefore must be true. Such thinking can lead to self-fulfilling prophecies, whereby our thoughts end up eliciting the very behavior we predicted just because we changed our behavior in accordance with what we thought. For example, if you think, I feel ugly and stupid, therefore I must be ugly and stupid, you might then stop buying yourself new clothes and start doing poorly in school, even though you looked fine and doing quite well in school beforehand. Personalization. A person engaging in personalization will automatically assume the responsibility and blame for the negative events that are not under their control. This is also called the mother of guilt, because of the feelings of guilt, shame, and inadequacy that leads to. For example, you come home to find that your dog has injured its foot, and you instantly think, if only I didn't leave the house it wouldn't have happened, or maybe it was my fault that I accidentally stepped on the dog's foot before I left. These thoughts are entirely unrealistic. Magnifying and minimizing. Thinking in a magnifying or minimizing way is often when we exaggerate the importance of a negative event and minimize or downplay the importance of positive events. In depressed individuals, it is often the positive characteristics of other people that are exaggerated and the negatives that are understated. When we think catastrophically, we are unable to see any other outcome except the worst one, however unlikely this result might turn out. For example, you send out the wrong letter to a client at work, and it turns into, I will now lose my job, and I won't be able to pay the bills, and I'll lose my house. Disqualifying the positive. Disqualifying the positive is where we continually discount and dismiss the positive experiences we encounter by deciding they're unimportant or they just don't count. For example, a friend compliments you on some work that you've done, but you just think they're being nice or that they're trying to get something out of you. Labeling. Labeling is an extreme form of all or nothing thinking and overgeneralization. Rather than describing a specific behavior, an individual instead assigns a negative and highly emotive label to themselves or others that leaves no room for change. For example, you make a mistake on a form you filled out and it's sent back to you in the post. You decide, I'm such a loser, or I'm stupid, rather than thinking, I made a mistake as I had a busy day and I was filling it out. Jumping to conclusions. An individual who jumps to conclusions will often make a negative interpretation or prediction, even though there is no evidence to support their conclusion. This type of thinking is often made when thinking about how others perceive us. It can show up as either mind reading or fortune telling. Mind reading is assuming the thoughts and intentions of others, and fortune telling is anticipating the worst and acting as if that is fact. For example, you're at a party and you don't like what you're wearing and you decide everyone is laughing at you. That's mind reading. Or you're going to take a driver's test and you decide that you're going to fail. This is fortune telling. Do you suffer from cognitive distortions? If you recognize any of these thoughts in yourself, instead of panicking, realize that by learning to see your own patterns of thinking, you're halfway towards change. Try monitoring when and how often you experience cognitive distortions, and in what situations they occur, and consider working with a CBT therapist to recognize, challenge, and change your thinking patterns more quickly.